Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review A Feast of Flesh. Tonight's entree, you.
Written, directed, edited, and starring Mike Watt, and also starring Amy Lynn Best, Stacey Bartlebaugh-Gmys, Debbie Rochon, and Aaron Bernard. This movie's about Seth, a guy whose fiance just left him to go to New York. But on her way there, she was taken captive and became a vampire in a brothel run by Elizabeth Bathory. Seth's friend, while going for a casual romp at a brothel, discovers this news, and being the good friend that he is, he tells Seth, but some local mercenaries recruit them to their army to go save Terry.
And you want her back?
Yes.
Even though she's a whore?
Hey, don't call her that.
And hopefully turn her from vampire back to regular, non-broken up fiance. We're checking this one out because this was sent to us a long time ago by a viewer and longtime supporter of the channel, Nicholas Stab, whose film teacher is Mike Watt. Nick also sent us Demon Divas, the bowling alley one, which we reviewed quite a while ago, and we figured we may as well check this one out. What do we like? This movie actually starts off pretty solid because we do have some pretty good practical effects. Within the first couple minutes, we get an excellent face rip. And in this movie, we have this coven or harem of vampires. And when they attack and they go for their victims, there's blood everywhere.
Yeah, they did a really good job with like doing the skin rips. Whether they're like biting into the shoulder and like pulling back and the skin's coming out. I appreciate all the effects that they have in here. Even if it is just like sausage links coming through like intestines, it looks good, and that's what you kind of like in these low budget films. I thought we had some fun characters in this film. I, for one, enjoyed Money Ty. He was the best. He was like the most badass out of all of them. Well, maybe Sheridan was the most badass out of all of them.
Yeah, Sheridan, who was actually the director, was our Dutch guy.
Named Sheridan?
And you're Dutch?
What gave it away?
But the $1 Million Thai man was definitely not Irish or Dutch, but he was fun. Because he was the guy who was like listening to the conversations and be like,
You think I'm taking a casual interest in this? Or maybe I just decided to fuck with you two. Maybe there's a reason I'm saying the things that I am. So grab your friend, meet us in the parking lot, and we'll try to keep you alive as long as we can.
his talismans were like dollar bills. That's how he stopped vampires.
Money is your talisman?
Makes the world go round.
He would just like make it rain and they would burn.
He made it rain with $1 bill on one single vampire. Don't give me that bullshit. What you're saying sounds way better.
Mike Watts, hit me up.
This is Mike Watt. Mike Watts is from Texas, I believe.
You're right.
SWISHA house, baby.
Then they get woman, now I'm hot, they all on me.
We had scantily clad vampire ladies who kicked ass sometimes, which was pretty cool. I wish we had a little bit more ass kicking, but it seemed pretty solid when we got it.
I think Seamus can only do so many flips.
The fact that you can see the tape marker is the best. Now, what didn't we like?
I'm going in with the story. I was sitting here trying to figure out who the bad guy was, who the good guy was. Is Terry really kept captive, or is she doing this on her own free will? Is Sheridan a mercenary, like, pimp, or is he like the right hand of God?
What do you mean? You thought he was a pimp running the brothel?
He was the pimp running the mercenaries.
What movie were you watching? What?
They had the truce. Why would you have a truce with mercenaries?
I don't know, John. Look, man, I don't want her hurt, okay?
Oh, you think that he's also a pimp?
Yeah,
and she's a pimp?
Yeah, because she takes the ones out of town and he gets the locals. That was the truce.
That's what was happening?
Yeah, see the story.
I don't know.
Why else would he have a truce with vampires?
I don't know either.
The reason they went to get Terry was because she was a local.
And by doing that, you put us all in danger. I didn't know.
And you're not allowed to touch the local turf.
Well, that wasn't well explained. I'm still not 100% that that's even the story.
And that's what makes this a dislike.
Sheridan invaded our house. He's never done that before. We've always met on neutral ground to settle these disputes.
I'm just speculating, but from what I'm putting together, I'm thinking it's just a turf war between pimps and hoes.
There are vampires also. Like, it just happens that her hoes are vampire hoes.
It's hard to be invested, and I think that's a problem. We get like the odd action scene here and there. We get the odd sex scene here and there. But overall, I still don't know who I should have been rooting for in this film.
Like, at the time, I thought it was the mercenaries.
What the fuck is this? You're pulling guns on us now?
But then again, they did take our good guys hostage, and we're using them as warriors.
And then the vampires were just eating all the people. No one in this film is good.
Maybe Seth.
No, Seth was not good.
He was a controlling asshole. That's why the girl left him.
I don't want your help, Seth. Just leave me alone.
Terry, God damn it!
No! touch me! Touch her again and you die slowly.
I meant to mention in my likes that I liked Debbie Rochon's character as like the head vampire, I guess. But she didn't really have enough screen time. And April Burrell also didn't have enough screen time because she was like probably the sexiest of all vampires. And she was like kicking the most ass as a vampire. Could have had more. In fact, that vampire versus mercenary sequence could have been way longer. There was some fighting which didn't look that great, but I would have appreciated more of it. And the same is true for the other big finale fight scene. It was anticlimactic, to say the least. In general, while it is an indie movie and they did have good stuff going, there were a lot of production faults as far as the lighting.
Hey, she's not Catholic. Holy water's not going to work.
Doesn't matter what she believes. Matters what I believe.
The sound design was probably the worst because there were times where the audio track was actually higher than the vocal volume. So people would be having a conversation and you just can't hear what the hell they're saying.
Someday you're gonna explain to me what that means. Not tonight, because tonight we have this.
But there's almost this like stock music going throughout the entire film without even changing. When you leave the movie, you just like have this beat in your head.
We also had really hilarious sound effects. Whenever people threw punches, that like comedic like...
But there's nothing to suggest this is a parody or a comedy at all. So having slapstick sounding noises is a little bit off. However, tonally fits the rest of the production. And we find that in like basically anything from 2000 to 2006 or 2009 even, that's just like indie movie. They all like almost look the same with the same lighting. It's not using like daylight lighting, it's using tungsten, so everything's got this like orange look to it. Things are overexposed, and you got grain, you got interlacing, and you have stock sounding Fruity Loop sounds.
It is worth noting that the acting isn't necessarily the best in this film. So we knew what we were getting into. It's not like we're like, oh my god, this is the worst acting ever. We know that we're getting into bad acting. It's just worth noting that some of these people can't necessarily act, but they tried.
It's never fun to talk about somebody's acting or inability to act, but I do have to point out some main characters here. Terry specifically, she was the least believable person in the movie, and she had the most screen time, other than Amy Lynn Best, who played our vampire pimp. But Terry was like the new vampire, and it seemed like she was taking this way more serious than everybody else. And then you couple that with like some awkward in-camera zooms to her eyes and stuff, and it just makes it laughable as an audience, but that wasn't necessarily the intention. So she's has some very hilarious moments by accident. Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. A Feast of Flesh wasn't a great film, but there were some good moments about it. I mean, the cinematography was fine enough, the practical effects were solid, and the editing was pretty tight. However, even though this is a shorter movie, it still felt like it dragged on. And that's because the story is a little bit weird. The acting is not stellar, which you would almost come to expect when going into a movie like this, so it is what it is. But at the end of the day, I didn't really have a great time watching it. There are funny moments, and it is fun to just try to wrap your head around things like, what the hell's going on here? Why is he doing this? And you'll laugh about certain aspects of the film.
And I'm Carlotta. No extra charge.
But it's not a good movie in general, so I'm gonna give this 1 smiling moose out of 5.
Sadly, I did not enjoy this film at all. There's something to be said about a film where I don't understand what is going on with the story, whether it was a technical issue where we couldn't hear the dialogue in the film, or potentially just the story was all over the place. I didn't know exactly what was happening. Yes, we had some good practical effects and I did enjoy the kills, but from a production standpoint, it didn't look the best and the audio was definitely not the best. Our acting wasn't that good, almost to the point where this is supposed to be a serious story and you find yourself making fun of the situations and the way the characters are acting. But it was nice to see Mike Watt go out there and put on his many hats and give us something that was decent. Like, it's hard to write, direct, act, and edit. I want to give Mike credit. I liked Sheridan as a character. The editing was good, so you get 2 out of the 4 roles that you did. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this film 1.5 dual-wielding sword crosses out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, there are links in the description where you can find it. And if you have any like obscure movies that have like a little history to them that involve you or your friends or people that you know, and you're like, oh, my brother-in-law acted in a film once, and I think that you guys might want to check that out, definitely let us know. We're always interested and we want to hear that story. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel and stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond.